I'm Jody Avirgan. Have you heard of Blue Apron? Well, now you have. Blue Apron's mission is to make incredible home cooking accessible to everyone. The country's #1 fresh ingredient and recipe service, fresh, high-quality ingredients make the difference, so it's important to know where your food comes from. Plus, it's affordable, easy, and full of surprises. Check out this week's menu and get your first 3 meals for free with free shipping. You will love how good it tastes and feels to create home-cooked meals with Blue Apron, so don't wait. Go to blueapron.com/30 for 30.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Hour number 2 of the Stephen A. Smith Show. Here with you for the next hour over the airwaves of ESPN Radio, Sirius XM style, Channel 80. Always a pleasure to have my next guest on the line. He's a contributor to First Take, very important contributor to First Take, does an exceptional job as an NFL analyst for ESPN, especially when he's on SportsCenter on Sunday nights, following the games as well. He's been absolutely terrific. Love talking to him, love listening to him, the one and only Super Bowl champion, Ryan Clark, is live on the airs with George Truly. What's going on, man? How are you?
What's up, man? Is your day still going well? Cowboys lost last night?
Isn't it beautiful? I mean, look, man, it's just a beautiful day. I mean, I can't even tell you how touching it is to bring this up. I expected the Dallas Cowboys to lose, but to watch them get shellacked like that and to think of the misery it was causing Dallas Cowboy fans, it just touched me in a way that I never anticipated. What's up with you?
I just saw the glow on your face when Will Kane walked in to the studio today. And I just didn't know if that had worn off by this point.
Not at all.
I see that it hasn't.
Let me ask you this question. Why are the Dallas Cowboys so bad without Ezekiel Elliott?
Well, it's not just the actual yardage he gains, Stephen A. It's the way in which he runs the football. It's the confidence he gives Scott Linehan, the offensive coordinator, in calling plays. And then what happens when he doesn't have the ball, when he's picking up blocks in the backfield, when he's pass protecting, when he's the guy you fake the ball to who actually gets out into the route, maybe catches a short pass, or the way he draws up underneath coverage because they have to play him in the run. All of those things are gone now. All of those things have dissipated. And so now they're depending on Dak Prescott to be able to push the ball down the field into tight coverage when teams do not have to work schematically to stop Ezekiel Elliott. And we're seeing now that Dak hasn't necessarily made it to that point in the career where he can be that quarterback that drives the team.
So
he needs the run game, he needs the protection.
So in other words, is it about him, or is it a matter of an absence of protection, particularly considering the fact that Tyron Smith is out?
That's been part of it. Obviously, that wasn't as big of a part of it as it was in the Atlanta Falcon games. You know, Dak was protected much better this game. There was only 4 sacks in this game, and I say only, but they do give up more sacks when Tyron Smith doesn't play. But they were actually able to run the ball a little bit. Every bad pass that Dak made wasn't because he was under pressure. There was tight coverage down the field. The Dallas Cowboys don't really have a game plan or players on their team that create a lot of separation. So Dak is going to have to make tough combat throws into coverage, and those guys are going to have to make those plays, and they aren't doing that on the outside. So not having Ezekiel Elliott to get 8 men in the box, to get you in coverages that concentrate on the run, is really hurting this team.
Ryan Clark, NFL analyst extraordinaire for ESPN, right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. I was surprised, considering the dominance on the part of the Eagles. There was a debate. Eagles, who's the best team in the NFC? Eagles, Vikings, Saints, Rams. We saw what happened to the Rams against Minnesota yesterday. We saw how the Saints came back on Washington. Does that make it official that the Eagles may be the best team in football, or at the very least the best team in the NFC?
I think right now they're playing the best ball in football. Obviously, if you get them and the New England Patriots or Pittsburgh Steelers on a neutral field, those are teams you feel can play with them and actually beat them. But the body of work for the Philadelphia Eagles and the way they've gone about winning games, they're the best team in the NFL right now. They're the team you have to pick to be representing the NFC in the Super Bowl. But with that, the Minnesota Vikings are a scary team. You talked about all the things they can do defensively early on today on your show, on First Take. I love what the New Orleans Saints have done, finding ways to play defense. You did make some points about when they play against elite quarterback play or good quarterback play or good offenses. But the way that they rushed the passer, the way that they created turnovers, and oh, by the way, yesterday they were down 3 starters, but when you have a quarterback who can make the plays that Drew Brees can make, who can make the clutch throws, make the clutch poised decisions, that puts that team over the top of any other team in the NFC other than the Carson Wentz-led Philadelphia Eagles because of that quarterbacking element.
You know, it's interesting because so many people bring up the greatness of the Philadelphia Eagles. What's your number one fear for them, for their fans, in terms of what could derail them?
The only thing that scares me about them is they aren't proven and veteran outside the numbers defensively, whether it be Jalen Mills, Darby, Patrick Robertson. These aren't guys we look at as the Richard Shermans and the Patrick Petersons, the Malcolm Butlers, these different type of players who we hold in high esteem from the cornerback position. But when you watch them play each and every week, these guys have played above their head. Darby comes back last night and plays an excellent game. Jalen Mills is a guy who's going to be on many Pro Bowl ballots for a ton of people this year in his second year out of LSU. Mm-hmm. Pat Robinson, a guy who was jettisoned from the New Orleans Saints and thought to not be able to play this game, is doing an amazing job in the slot. If these players can keep up the consistency and keep really outplaying their expectations, this team is going to be hard to beat in Lincoln Financial and maybe impossible to beat. But that is the one thing that would scare me if you face a top-notch passing game.
Did you lose faith in the Los Angeles Rams because of how they lost to Minnesota yesterday?
I did not. What it did was just validate this Minnesota Vikings defense. Validate kind of what we already knew, that when it comes to being able to play rush and coverage, there is no team that is better than them at doing that. They're up there with the Jacksonville Jaguars and now the Pittsburgh Steelers and some of these teams who have ferocious front fours that they can rush the passer with and play zone or man coverage behind those rushers. The Minnesota Vikings made Todd Gurley run sideways. And from that, they were able to rush the passer and put Jared Goff in situations where he had to be the playmaker, where he had to be the play creator, and Sean McVay wasn't able to scheme up some of those wide-open receivers that we've seen from the L.A. Rams. And so it was amazing to watch that defense work yesterday against an L.A. Rams team that was running up the score on everybody.
Well, let me transition to the Saints because I know you're high on them, and I don't blame you because playing the way that they played, winning 8 straight, having Drew Brees as their quarterback, having a running game finally behind him in Ingram and Kamara. Obviously, that can't be ignored. But I did watch the defense get shredded by Kirk Cousins for the first 56 minutes. I do wonder about it on that level. You don't?
I don't right now. I will say that. The last few weeks, I think they've played extremely well. Matthew Stafford was able to put up some points on them. The Saints aren't as stout of a defense as the Minnesota Vikings. The Saints' numbers or as far as points given up, they aren't going to wow you. What they've done is created turnovers and made timely plays, which is very much like the 2009 team that went on to win the Super Bowl. They aren't this defense that's going to stuff you and make you feel like you're stifled and smothered the whole game, but they're going to make the timely plays, which eventually Von Bell comes through and does on Kirk Cousins. They gave up some passing plays, but you got to remember, there were 3 starters down, 2 of those starters in the secondary, and Lattimore and Vaccaro. So I think this team can play better ball than we saw yesterday because we've seen them do it. But it's going to be the combination of that defense being better, being opportunistic, and this running game also being able to finish games with Drew Brees that gives me confidence in this team as a whole. But obviously, defensively, they're going to have to continue to show, especially in the upcoming weeks against the Rams, the Panthers, and the Falcons, that they were this team they've been during this streak.
Ryan Clark right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Let's transition to the AFC because we watched the New England Patriots shellac the Oakland Raiders. I don't know what the hell has happened to the Oakland Raiders. I don't even think they're worth talking about right now. I just don't get it. But I will ask you this question. The New England Patriots obviously presumably are the team to beat. Is it conceivable that anybody in the AFC can knock them off based on what you've been seeing from anybody else in the AFC?
It would be the Pittsburgh Steelers. If you get the Pittsburgh Steelers that played on Thursday night, especially in the second half, The Pittsburgh Steelers that create big plays both offensively and defensively, even minus Joe Hayden, having cornerbacks who are able to make plays on the football, which is why you go out and get a veteran like Sensabaugh. When you have some of the things that are going on in Pittsburgh and you know that firepower remains offensively, that is definitely a team that is scary. I think we got to start talking about Tom Brady in the MVP race. He's kind of like LeBron. Like, you're so used to seeing him be great, you kind of take that greatness for granted and don't really accept it for what it is and appreciate it for what it is, the way he's playing ball right now. The Patriots has fixed their defense, which was a huge concern early on in the season. Defense coordinator Matt Patricia, Bill Belichick have found ways to get guys to communicate and play sound football like you knew they would. But the matchup with the Pittsburgh Steelers, if the Steelers can get that game in Heinz Field, is a very interesting one for me, because that's the one team with the firepower, with the coaching pedigree, with the defense that can really threaten the New England Patriots' chance to repeat.
Well, you say that the defense, but Joe Hayden's out.
And I told you, but did you watch Sensabaugh play? Did you watch the defense?
Sensabaugh is a former Cowboy. I'm concerned with his contaminating effect.
So you feel like it's contagious?
I feel like this is potentially contagious at the wrong opportune time. I mean, I really do. A Cowboy wearing a Steelers uniform is almost sacrilegious. It's blasphemous.
He's not a carrier. You know, he don't have a disease.
You sure? Are we sure about this?
Stephen A., he's not the outbreak monkey. He's not going to make the other guys not be able to play.
Outbreak was a good movie. It was a good movie.
Really was.
It really was. You're right. With Dustin Hoffman, Cuba Gooding Jr. Yes, it was. Go ahead.
Antonio Brown was huge on Thursday night, but defensively, the way Cam Hayward and Stephon Tuitt and now T.J. Watt is coming off the edge. Great linebacker play by Shazier and Vince Williams. This defense is complete. This defense is complete on every level. Health has been an issue lately. Obviously, Mike Mitchell's been out. We saw some plays given up in the middle of the field, so you want to make sure that is shored up. But I really like the way this defense has come along, and it hasn't given up 20 points in regulation this year.
Last question. What the hell were the New York Giants thinking about beating Kansas City? I mean, I'm wondering about Kansas City right now. See, there's moments like this where I lose total faith in Alex Smith. How the hell do you lose to the 1-8 Giants when you're chasing a playoff spot?
You know what happened? Remember early on in the season, Stephen A., and I'm sure you were part of it too, the Kansas City Chiefs were playing so well. Alex Smith was amazing at pushing the ball down the field, but yet we were all hesitant to say this was the team to beat. We were all waiting on another team to come up and show us that they were better than the Kansas City Chiefs, because we knew Eric Berry had went down, because we knew Alex Smith was more check down Charlie than he was home run Harry. And so now some of those things have come to fruition, and we're kind of seeing some of the stuff that made us hesitant to champion this team early on in the season. They need to get back to giving Kareem Hunt the ball, running behind their pads, being a physical outfit, and not being so pretty, so gimmicky, so let's be creative on offense, and get back to the nuts and bolts of football, because if they don't, they're going to find themselves in a bad playoff position trying to be the team that they have no shot or opportunity of beating on their home field.
Putting you on the spot, 10 seconds or less. Who's meeting in the Super Bowl if you had to pick right now?
The Philadelphia Eagles and the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's all Pennsylvania, man. Keystone State.
All right, that's not an emotional decision on your part. It's not emotional.
Maybe a little bit.
Enjoy. Happy Thanksgiving. Keep up the great work, man. Proud of you. Doing a fantastic job. Keep it up, bro.
Thank you, brother. Happy Thanksgiving.
All right, man. The one and only Ryan Clark right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio, 866-729-3776. That's 866-729-ESPN, 866-SAY-ESPN. Back to your calls and more. Plus, I'll get into LeBron James and what he had to say about Colin Kaepernick, and then some. Got some comments from Steve Kerr about our president and LeVar Ball as well. Plus, a slew of NFL games. Brought all of that up. Subjects are not going anywhere. Neither am I. I'm here with you. Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Catch the Stephen A. Smith Show live on 98.7 ESPN New York, ESPN LA 710, and Sirius XM Channel 80.
You just can't make this stuff up.
Weekdays from 1 till 3 Eastern.
I'm Jody Avirgan. Have you heard of Blue Apron? Well, now you have. Blue Apron's mission is to make incredible home cooking accessible to everyone. The country's #1 fresh ingredient and recipe service, fresh, high-quality ingredients make the difference, so it's important to know where your food comes from. Plus, it's affordable, easy, and full of surprises. Check out this week's menu and get your first 3 meals for free with free shipping. Go to blueapron.com/30 for 30.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
My man LL. It was good seeing it with Ice Cube's 3-on-3 tournament, hanging out with him in Philly. LL, the legend, the legendary LL Cool J. Always appreciate that, brother. Let's get back to the phones right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. And by the way, before I forget, oh, my Lord, talk about Sean McDermott for the Buffalo Bills making the wrong decision. I mean, Tyrod Taylor's complete 63% of his passes, only threw 3 interceptions on the season. And I sat up there and I went on the air and I said, listen, I don't like it, but at the same time I can understand it because even though they were 5-4 when Tyrod Taylor got benched, the reality is that you had players. You had players going to the coach, from what I was being told, and saying they didn't have a problem with him giving Peterman a chance. This brother threw 8 passes. His first 8 passes, 4 that was interceptions. He threw 5 interceptions. 2 of them weren't really his fault. But damn it, it's 5 interceptions. I mean, what a catastrophe. What a catastrophe. I mean, that was bad, y'all. It was so bad. And how do you look now? That article that guy from the New York Daily News wrote last week, where my man Carlton in Tampa was sitting there talking about it was utterly ridiculous because Jamarcus Russell missed the job of the Hut himself. And other African-American quarterbacks were mentioned. The poster child for it would have been Tyrod Taylor. Talk about white privilege at the quarterback spot in terms of guys getting one chance after another. This guy, Peterman, a 5th-round pick, 9 games in, you bench Tyrod Taylor, and 5 interceptions. My God! The Buffalo Bills have been outscored 104-34 over the last 2 games. 104-34. That's just atrocious. I knew Carlton and Tampa will call. Floor is yours, Carlton. Go ahead, buddy.
Oh, man, the social justice warriors are becoming comical caricatures of themselves. Molly, Max, and you all vociferously argued for Nathan Peterman to start over Tyrod Taylor last week. You did not have one positive thing to say about Tyrod Taylor, mostly Max. Max was out in front of this, okay? And now he crashes and burns, and today it's all about white privilege. That's why Nathan Peterman is started. The idea that Max is now up on his soapbox talking about white privilege when he was arguing vociferously for Nathan Peterman to start over Tyrod Taylor last week is just laughable. And he brings up Ryan Fitzpatrick again as a source of white privilege. Yeah, the Ryan Fitzpatrick that's won as many games in 2 starts as Jameis Winston has in 8 starts with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this year. Yeah, that's funny why teams continue to hold on to consummate professionals like that always work their butts off, keep their mouths shut, do the right thing, unlike the Colin Kaepernicks of the world.
Whoa. You can't say Colin Kaepernick didn't work hard, Carlton. I mean, you can talk about the picks.
Keep his mouth shut, too. He certainly didn't. He certainly kept his mouth open, didn't he?
I understand that, but just don't say he didn't work hard. I mean, the picks.
Well, I didn't mean. I was meaning more. He's throwing bombs everywhere he goes. He can't stop insulting the owner of the Ravens. He can't stop insulting the police. He can't stop insulting Cuban Americans. And yet now we got LeBron on his case without ever mentioning that, Colin needs to wise up and apologize for some of the things he's done and say that he's learning. Maybe then he would get a second chance.
Stop right there. Will you allow me to read LeBron James' comments about Colin Kaepernick? He says, quote, "I love football, but I'm not part of the NFL. I don't represent the NFL. I don't know their rules and regulations, but I do know Cap as in Kaepernick is getting a wrong deal. I do know that. Just watching, he's an NFL player. He's an NFL player, and you see all these other quarterbacks out there and players out there that get all these second and third chances that are nowhere near as talented as him. It just feels like he's being blackballed out of the NFL. So I definitely do not respect that. The only reason I can say he's not on the team is because of the way he took a knee. That's the only reason. I watch football every Sunday, every Thursday, every Monday night. I see all these quarterbacks, first string, second string, third team quarterbacks that play sometimes when the starter gets hurt or are starters that play. Cap is better than a lot of those guys. Let's just be honest. To that, Carlton, you say what?
He's dead wrong. Being a quarterback is not only about athletic talent. It's about being able to motivate your teammates for a common cause. It's about studying the playbook and knowing it really well. It's about, putting the team's interest above your own at certain points in time. Colin Kaepernick, while he may be quite athletic, he's failed in all of the other respects.
Well, my problem with you, Carlton, and what you're saying about this is that you act like the team was winning, and then Colin Kaepernick opened his mouth and they started losing. They were losing before he got into the starting lineup last year. They were 1-10 with them. Chip Kelly was there. Trent Baalke was there. They had pushed Jim Harbaugh out the door and sent him away before he landed the job at Michigan. The 49ers as an organization did a lot to get in the way of their own productivity long before Colin Kaepernick decided to take a knee.
Colin Kaepernick was the guy who turned home field advantage into home field disadvantage.
They didn't have a home field advantage. They stunk.
Colin Kaepernick was the guy who decided to insult the owner who was considering hiring him.
That's true. That's true. I said that on many occasions.
Out of his own way, Stephen A. And everybody on the social justice warrior side of this argument doesn't even mention this stuff, with the exception of you. You have at least been willing to talk about Colin Kaepernick's own foolishness that has cost him his own job. None of these other guys even mention once any of the multiple things that Colin Kaepernick has done.
I do have to come to the defense of Max Kellerman in this regard. I mean, far be it for me to do that because I beat him up in arguments every day. But he has religiously stated that Colin Kaepernick wearing the pigs, the pigs on his socks and a Fidel Castro T-shirt did not help his cause. You can't say that Max Kellerman did not.
You made him admit that. You talking to him finally had made him admit that.
Okay.
But ask Max Kellerman to go back and watch his segments last week about Nathan Peterman and then watch his segment today. It's hysterical,
well, you got us on Peterman, though. You got us on Peterman because you're right.
Hey,
listen, the players...
It's white privilege. Last week, he was arguing vociferously that Tyrod Taylor stunk and Nathan Peterman should get the job. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Look, enjoy Tampa, man. I appreciate the call as always. You make some good points, Carlton. I can't argue with that. 866-729-ESPN, 866-ESPN. More the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio in a minute.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
For those of you who missed the news, Lincoln Riley, the coach at Oklahoma for the Oklahoma Sooners, successor to Bob Stoops, Lincoln Riley has decided to sit Baker Mayfield, leading candidate for the Heisman Trophy. They decided to sit him for the start of the game against West Virginia. Not the entire game, the start of the game against West Virginia. Personally, I think it's apropos. Baker Mayfield using expletives, using the language that he felt that he used, along with some other salacious things. He's got to get himself under control. In fairness to him, he is a college student, and he has apologized. He apologized immediately after. There was no written statement or anything like LeAngelo Ball and his teammates at UCLA. No, Baker Mayfield stood up there and made a statement extemporaneously about how folks are watching. He doesn't represent just himself but the university, as long as with his family name, and he had no business conducting himself like that, and he apologized. I think he was appropriately contrite and sincere, but at the same time, somebody needs to rein him in just a little bit. All right, there's certain things that you just can't do, and somebody needs to let you know you just can't do that. You just can't do that. Grabbing his crotch because somebody, he's going off on some player that hit him or whatever the case may be. You can't do that. Just can't do that. And the guy gave him a cheap shot, and I get all of that. You understand that? It's up to your teammates to come and protect the quarterback. The cameras are watching you wherever you go. You just can't do stuff like that. He did that and grabbed his crotch, stuff like that. So he knows he deserves to sit, and that is that. Let's get back to the phones at 866-SAY-ESPN, 866-729-3776. Once again, Baker Mayfield, star quarterback for the Oklahoma Sooners, won't start or be team captain at Saturday's game versus, for Saturday's game versus West Virginia. He apologized for his actions Saturday after beating Kansas. To the phones we go. Earl in Jersey, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Hey, how you doing, Stephen A?
All right, go ahead, buddy.
I just wanted to bring up about the role the Eagles have been on, and I already knew, they were already a great football team. I learned more about the Dallas Cowboys more than anything.
Go ahead.
People always have told me that Dak Prescott's always been better than Carson Wentz.
Not anymore.
No, not anymore. I didn't think he was better than last year either. To be honest with you, it's hard to succeed when you lose the best right tackle in football last year. So. And,
he doesn't have his left tackle now.
Yeah, he doesn't. No, he doesn't.
I'm talking about Dak Prescott.
Yeah,
not just Carson Wentz. Dak Prescott.
Yeah. Yep. And he lost a star running back, which I understand. But before we got Jay Ajayi, he had LeGarrette Blount. He'll have a few explosions, but other than that, he was pretty average.
So you basically called up here to brag about the Eagles. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's exactly what I came to do. Okay. I'm a big Eagles fan, so that's all.
All right, I got it.
I have my friend, I have my coworker in the truck with me. He's a big Steelers fan, just like you, man.
Right. But I respect the Eagles, too. And I got a lot of friends over with the Philadelphia Eagles organization because of my 17 years working for the Philadelphia Inquirer. So I'm not rooting against them. I'm just a diehard Steelers fan. I love me some Mike Tomlin, and I love the Steel Curtain, even though they ain't been the Steel Curtain for years, and I'm hoping that Big Ben Roethlisberger steps up. I wouldn't mind seeing the Steelers and the Eagles in the Super Bowl. Wouldn't bother me in the slightest. But I appreciate the call, Earl. Thank you so much. Malik, you're live at Stephen A. Go ahead.
First of all, I want to say that the Browns fan base is the worst, not the Cowboys. And second,
stop right there. Why the Browns fan base the worst?
Man, when's the last time they made the playoffs?
No. I said the fan base. That's what you said. We ain't talking about the team. We know nobody's worse than the Browns. You said their fan base. Why is their fan base the worst?
They've been loyal to them for years, and yet, like I said,
they've been loyal to them for years. Have they been obnoxious? Have they told you that the Browns are going to win the Super Bowl?
Plenty of times. That's where I live.
Stop lying. Apologize right now to our listeners. Apologize because you just lied.
No,
you know good and damn well there's no Cleveland Browns fan on a planet that told you they were going to win the Super Bowl. You know that. Stop lying.
Hey.
Stop lying.
Hey, word.
Stop lying. You lying. Malik just admitted you're lying, and we can move on. Admit that you just lied on Browns fans because the Dallas Cowboy fans say that all the time. And we know how delusional they are. Cleveland Browns fans, I have never heard a Cleveland Browns fan in my life say they're going to win the Super Bowl.
You're from New York, so I'm from Ohio, so different story.
Goodbye, man. Have a nice day. You're not lying. You're not telling the truth. I'm not going to listen to liars. I travel all over the country. I'm Stephen A. I travel all over the country. I have never heard a Browns fan in the last 20 years say they're going to win the Super Bowl. Malik is lying. He's lying. Tim in L.A., you're live at Stephen A. Go ahead.
Hey, Steve. There must have been a team meeting after the fight that Lonzo skipped out on because after the next game, they actually start passing him the ball. He ended up getting a triple-double.
What's your point?
My point is that the Lakers, all they have to do is go through him. I heard you say last week that
he's
they were
the point guard,
if they redrafted.
Tim. He's the point guard. Tim, what do you mean go through him? He's always got the ball in his hands. What are you talking about?
I'm saying that you talked about redrafting. If in the redraft, that he wouldn't be top 5.
I said there are 5 draft picks that came after him that are playing better than him. That is a fact.
If we redraft, how many of those draft picks have triple doubles?
So, other than a couple of triple doubles that he's had this season, he still ain't averaging 10 points. He's still shooting 31% from the field and 22% from 3-point range. There's still more games than not that he shows no aggression whatsoever. I'm not rooting against this kid. I'm rooting for him. But tell the truth. The man he has not been aggressive at all.
You're exactly right. You're right. He's going to, I think after this team meeting that they had, he's going to become more consistent.
All right. I respect that opinion. You believe what he's going to do. You ain't telling me he did it.
Right. I believe going forward, I think you're going to see more consistency out of him.
I got it. We'll see. 866-SAY-ESPN. Your calls to close out the show in a minute. Stephen A. ESPN Radio.
Want to be a part of the show? Hit Stephen A. up weekdays from 1 to 3 Eastern at 866-729-3776.
Hey girl, have you done something new with your scales? Using new moisturizer? Nice. It really brings out the hazel in your eyes. Oh, hold on. Are you using whitening strips too? Your fangs look good, girl. Really good.
A really charming snake charmer? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Wait, what? Have you been doing Pilates too?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it! Back to the phones we go before we get on out of here for the day. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. Let's go to Louie in L.A. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me, Louie.
Man, happy Founders Day, Frat. I just want to say this.
Founders Day, Frat.
Man, all right. LeVar Ball needs to shut up. But at the same time, our president needs to stop being such a ninny and stop trying to get pat on his back when he's doing his job.
Amen.
Those young men committed larceny. Personally, I think they should have did the time. I'm a law enforcement officer, and I don't agree with it. But at the end of the day, both of them are wrong. I don't know why we got a private citizen and the president arguing with him. It's kind of
I agree with that, but I got to admit to you, even though they should have been, we do have people in American society that steal and they get probation and they get community service and things of that nature. You certainly get it for, far more harmful things like drunk driving and things of that nature because you could have killed somebody. So I get where you're coming from in terms of the punishment. They needed to be punished, but I'm scared of the thought of them being punished in China. I'm not going to lie.
And that's the problem. That is the whole problem there. They should have known better. They grown men. They're not children.
They should have. They're not children. They're not children. You're right. You're right.
So
You're right.
that's all I wanted to say, man. Great show, brother.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it, bro. Thank you so much. Edna, you're live with Stephen A. Go ahead.
Hey, Stephen A. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. Thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Hey, I'm calling from Minneapolis, Minnesota, man. I'm the biggest Vikings fan ever, and I just want to let everybody know on your show that the Minnesota Vikings will host the Super Bowl and be in the Super Bowl, and we exposed.
And you know this how?
Yesterday.
You know this how?
Them.
So you exposed the Los Angeles Rams. Maybe they ain't ready.
Man, we exposed them.
Excuse me, Edna, I'm asking you a question, my dear. I said to you, how do we know? They played the Los Angeles Rams. They ain't played the Eagles. They ain't played Drew Brees and the Saints.
Not yet, and we're gonna end up meeting the Saints again.
Okay.
We're gonna end up meeting the Saints again.
Okay.
In the championship game.
Well, here's the beauty of this show, Edna. I ain't going anywhere. Matter of fact, I'm going nationwide as of January 2nd. I'll be easier and easier to find. Trust me, I will remember you said this.
I said that. I want everybody to remember what I said.
We're going to remember Edna. We're going to remember Edna in Minnesota. We're going to remember. Thank you so much for the call, Edna. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Let's go to K-Sean. You're live with Stephen A. What's going on? How are you?
Hey, Stephen. How you doing? I'm good,
all right.
buddy. Maybe I missed some, but all I heard about Trump helping those kids in China was from Trump. I didn't hear anything from anybody else about what happened in China. I know LeVar was there. But as we know about this president, he lies about everything under the sun.
Well, it was understood. So it's been understood by the local media and beyond that. All the pundits have talked on national television, and what they're saying is that the president had a multitude of things on his agenda, including individual prisoners from America that he could have worked on releasing, but he took the time to address this particular situation with LiAngelo Ball and the other UCLA players. So they're saying that even though he shouldn't be looking to be praised, it's no denying that he did a good thing here, and LeVar Ball should show some gratitude. That's what the pundits have been saying on national media.
All right. Okay, I guess that makes a lot of sense. So LeVar was wrong in a sense.
Yep.
Thanks anyway.
Thank you. Chris, you're live with Stephen A. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Stephen. I just want to once again congratulate you. And two, I'm so glad you're beating up on the Dallas Cowboys. You should do it every day this week if you ask me, up until Thanksgiving.
I probably will. Nothing will please me more. Go ahead.
And also, second, I'm a big Redskins fan, and I just hate the way they gave that game away yesterday. So my question is, over the last couple of years, is it Gruden or is it Cousin the problem? Your opinion?
I think it's Gruden. Because collectively they found a way to not get it done. I mean, Cousins is not somebody that I think is a franchise quarterback. I don't think he's somebody that deserves $100 million, but I do watch him perform, and I can't negate the fact that he's better than average, and his numbers speak for itself. But it's not an accident to me that they're up 31-16 and suddenly Drew Brees wreaks havoc and the Redskins have no answer. I can't put that on Cousins, though. He's a part of it, but the bigger problem is Jay Gruden. Jay Gruden has been in Washington long enough for this team to be better, but they are blah. That's the word I use, blah. They're good enough to make things interesting, even though we all know what the outcome will likely be most of the time. They'll end up being just good enough to be mediocre, but never better. And as a result, it's more difficult for them to improve. That's what I view with the Redskins under great Jay Gruden.
All right, thank you. Have a happy Thanksgiving, Stephen.
You do the same. Happy Thanksgiving to you and yours. Kelvin, Pennsylvania, live with Stephen A. Real quick, go ahead, Kelvin.
Yes, sir. Do you think that Paul George will re-sign with Oklahoma based upon your information? And also, with you going nationwide, will that, in fact, impact you being on First Take?
It's not going to have any impact on me being on First Take. First Take is going to be my top priority. It's my show. I mean, Max Kellerman and Molly Kieran are a part of it. I love them, and I appreciate the great work that they do. But when my man Skip Bayless departed, they handed the reins to me. So it's my show. I'm the captain of the ship, and, you know, I'm responsible for it. It rides with me. I'm not going anywhere, God willing, as long as my health will permit. And my contract is still with ESPN. I will be doing First Take for the foreseeable future. That's number one. Number two, just in terms of, radio, in terms of the Thunder, rather, and Paul George, here's what I'm hearing. L.A. was on the radar. L.A. right now is not looking so promising because Lonzo Ball is not looking so promising. However, he has been struggling to fit in Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City is confident they will be able to re-sign him, but it's going to be a challenge for them if they keep playing the way that they've been playing. So they'll need to get it together. So will he. Or if he decides to go to L.A., it'll be because he has a big-time free agent to go with him. That's what I know. I got to run. I appreciate the call. Steve, you're live with Stephen A. Real quick, Steve. You only got a few seconds. Go ahead.
Stephen A., happy Thanksgiving, but this is the line. Stephen A. is not about black. Stephen A. ain't about white. Stephen A. is about the truth. And if everyone start living your mantra, with your mantra, we'll have a better world, Stephen A. You're all about the truth. I respect you, and I appreciate listening to you every day.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I do try to be about the truth. Truth as I see it. The truth that the facts tell me. I think that LeVar Ball has been incessantly criticized and extensively so and unfairly so at times. I just think that people have overreacted. But in this particular situation, he's totally wrong. He's totally wrong. There's nothing wrong with showing a little gratitude and humility. The reality of the situation is whether it was a big deal or not to you, it was a big deal to China. And China conceivably could have kept your son in jail, and there wouldn't have been a damn thing you could have done about it. And the president of the United States happened to be over there, and he addressed your situation. He deserves credit for that, no matter how much it rakes our nerves to give him credit. He deserves it. Talk to y'all in 22 hours. Stephen A. signing off until then. Peace and love.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on Sirius XM Channel 80 and the ESPN app.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I'm so happy, I feel like I can fly.
Disclaimer, you will not be able to fly by switching to Geico. This is against the laws of physics and nature. If you find yourself flying, please seek professional and or medical help immediately. In the unlikely event you find yourself flying, you might be a superhero, or a pigeon, or a superhero named Pidgewoman, who was bitten by a radioactive pigeon. If you are indeed Pidgewoman, Geico retains all licensing publishing rights in the event Pidgewoman the movie becomes a top-grossing Hollywood blockbuster.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.